Hi, I'm Doug Haugen with WINOma magazine, and I'm here with a guy that needs very little introduction. This is Greg Harrington of Gramercy, Cellars. Greg, tell us, how long have you been making wine?
It's funny. I feel like I've been making wine all my life, but I've actually only been making wine for about 5 years.
Really?
Yep.
What got you started?
Basically a party in Brooklyn. I was a sommelier in New York for 5 years, and I'd been a sommelier for about 10 years before that. And I hanging out, go to a tasting in Brooklyn for Washington wine, and I'd had Washington wine before. And I go to this party, and I'm like, oh, these wines are really, 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 really good. And when I was at the party, I met some people who were involved in basically Washington Wine Commission and Washington Wine Alliance, and they were like, hey, you should come out. So literally that spring, we got on a plane, went out to Walla Walla, and I was like blown away with how good the wines were. And I said, wow, like this is going to be an amazing place for my wife and I to retire. And in a week, that became, you know what, let's do that vineyard in 10 years. And then it became like, all right, let's do it in 5 years. And like, you know what, let's just sell everything on now and do it now and see what happens. And that's what we did.
So you jumped in feet first, or head first rather, and started. Did you get an education, or how did you go about doing that?
Dude, I showed up so stupid. I mean, like if I had actually worked in a winery for a year, there's no way I would, like. I was the little kid, how high 10 feet was. But I'll tell you, that for me is the really special thing about Walla Walla. I showed up and people are like, I'm like, oh, I need to learn how to drive a forklift. So Justin Wiley's like, Bob Piano is giving me forklift driving lessons, and Jamie Brown is showing me all the great vineyards of Washington, and Jean-Francois Pillet of Pepperbridge is saying, okay, look, this is how you ferment Cabernet, this is how you ferment Syrah. And also from my sommelier days, I had some great background and some contacts to be able to say, all right, I want to make Syrah in Washington, so who do I call? Let me call a couple guys in Hermitage, Côte Rôtie, and same thing with Tempranillo and Rioja, but really the community of Walla Walla really, really helped me. It's an amazing community.
So that's one thing that is kind of a hallmark, I think, of Washington wine. Something that we heard in the seminars yesterday at the Taste Washington seminars was that someone apparently said that your competition is your neighbor, but in Washington it seems more that your neighbor is your friend. Your neighbor's there to help you, and there's a lot of people helping each other out in the industry, and it sounds like that's kind of what you experienced. Or?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously everyone's running their own business, but I think, especially in Walla Walla, a lot of guys believe rising tide floats all boats. And if I'm fermenting and I'm about to crush and I got a lot of fruit coming in and my crusher destemmer breaks, it's not uncommon for me to go next to my neighbor and crush over there and not have to worry about all the financial details and stuff like that. Yeah, it's really a place where people will help each other out. And
so, coming from New York, you said, New York is a big winemaking state. It's like fourth in the nation as far as production. How do you feel that Washington wine compares to, like, say, New York wines or the big California?
I think that the Finger Lakes area where they do Riesling. So I mean, to me, I love you Washington Riesling, but New York has it on that one. I mean, New York, the Rieslings that we never see out here are absolutely amazing. The other wines suffer from the fact that the vineyard land is more expensive than Burgundy and Barolo. Basically the vineyard land is the Hamptons on Long Island, and it's like, do I plant a vineyard or do I build a $10 million house? So the guys that do it usually do it pretty well because they're committed and they have the financial resources to do it. So I've had great wine from Long Island. For me, the difference between Washington and California, obviously lots of respect for California, and they basically created the wine industry in the United States. But what I find here is we can get balance. We can get wines that have structure, that have depth, that have length, but are also balancing out. And that's at Gramercy. That's really what we're looking for. I'm looking for balance. I'm looking for wines that don't really hit you over the head, but are subtle but like, wow, I didn't realize you could make wines like this in the U.S. That's where I think Washington really, really excels.
So, in just 5 years making wine, you've gotten a lot of accolades. Any in particular that you're especially proud of?
I'm pretty proud of my video.
All right, let's talk about your video. So, Greg Harrington has released a few videos online that first of all they're freaking hilarious, and they've kind of gone viral. And one of them we actually started pushing on as viral before we even knew that it was him. Why don't you tell us about what you're doing with your online videos?
Well, my thing is like, a lot of people take wine for me a little too seriously, and there's a lot of thinking in wine marketing from a winery perspective that you can't have fun in your winery. That as soon as you reach $40-50 a bottle, that everything has to be serious and it has to be like art gallery like. And I'm trying to basically test the waters and say, look, the reality is it's only grape juice, and I mean, we take it out. Obviously, we take our winemaking very, very seriously. But are there new ways with social media to market wine? And I think that with the couple of things that we throw in the water, that we're saying, there are new ways to market this product. And you guys at your website are doing amazing things, and we're trying to kind of see what else is out there for 2010.
So. Speaking of like online efforts, online videos, like how much effort are you putting into, say, social media marketing?
I mean, if I could make wine all day, it would be like the greatest thing in the world. I mean, I spend a lot of time doing social media. The whole, there's a whole controversy right now going on. Our blogger is legitimate, and we all know that. We all know the arguments. But for me, the reality is, I actually think the blogging media is more important because you guys are out there for the reality. For most of you aren't getting paid for doing what you're doing. So you guys are actually committed. You want to talk about wine, and I mean, what was 30,000-40,000 tweets? I mean, the Spectator. I mean, what's their circulation every year? 300,000 every month. 300,000-400,000. And in one night we can get 50,000 hits talking about Washington Merlot, and people are excited about it. I mean, think about the tweets that came across your BlackBerry or your computer 2 hours before this event started. I mean, it was like Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the blogging and social media really, really excels. That you can create hype that traditional media can't create.
And I think you hit on something. There were so many tweets going on that night about Washington Merlot, and I went to 3 different places that night to drink wine and tweet. And a majority of the people in the room were not tweeting, but they were there because they had heard of it. So all the tweeting brought people out, even people that weren't participating in the conversation. They were all drinking and discussing in person Washington Merlot. So that the tweet phenomenon actually worked for a lot of these businesses that were having events to support it.
Yeah. People say it's not a real business, but you just gave an example of you're standing in a bar and 100 people are there because of the Twitter event. They're making a real impact and they're supporting Washington wine, which is what we're all here to do.
So what can we expect from Gramercy Cellars in the years to come? Are you going to introduce any new varietals, or are you heading in a certain direction?
No, I feel like in 5 years we figured out our game plan. So it's Syrah, Cabernet, Tempranillo, and Grenache. And now my goal is I've identified the wines that the vineyards that I want to be in, except Jim Holmes, Ciel de Saval. You need to sell to me, Jim. So I've identified where I want to be. Now it's a question of how can I keep making everything we do better and better and better. So I feel like the baseline is there, and now it's a question of how do we really push it to the next level in terms of production and quality and doing what we really want to do.
Right. Well, I'm a fan. I'm looking forward to trying your new vintages as they come out, and I'll be hitting you up on Twitter and trying to score some wine from you.
Obviously.
Awesome. All right. Thanks a lot, man.
Thanks, man. Pleasure.
You bet.
So.